Welcome to The Lock Shop with Nielsen and Hustler, powered by Coolbet Canada.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another podcast and live stream of The Lock Shop. Nielsen and Hustler with you here on a Tuesday. And thank you very much for popping by once again. If you want to subscribe to the podcast, just search for The Lock Shop on all your podcasting platforms. Sign up for an account at Coolbet, the presenting sponsor. Use the bonus code LOCKSHOP, and you will get a 100% deposit bonus up to $200. Huss, what's up, buddy?
Well, what is up? Lots going on in the Tales of the North right now, Dusty. Big wins for the Oilers and Jets last night, so a lot of excitement in northern Alberta, southern Manitoba. Can't say the same for southern Alberta or out on the west coast with the Vancouver Canucks, but lots of hockey going on, and man, we've got lots to talk about coming out of a pretty wild weekend for the Lock Shop into some more hockey tonight. Valero Texas Open 1 week before the Masters. And oh yeah, by the way, opening day on Thursday.
Yeah, we've got a ton to get to. We're going to get to some MLB Futures. And as Huss said, we'll give you some more golf picks as well. UFC saved us on Saturday, buddy. We both hit on our UFC 260 bets, which kind of saved the Saturday for us.
Well, listen, the partner parlay, you know, and this is just the most Buffalo Sabres thing ever. Were able to kill our parlay and yet still lose the game. I guess, as I said, picking against Buffalo on the money line is a cop-out. So we went with the 2-goal win. Boston didn't get it done, but the series, the streak continued. Chris took an L. I don't know. The puck pick, Tampa was up 2-0 comfortably. They somehow blow it. I did squeeze out a win in the dog pound again, though. Gotta love the Nashville Predators getting it done. And then, yeah, the UFC was nice. What was really nice, though, was the wide world of wagering. the 3-game CONCACAF World Cup qualifier parlay came in, and then maybe the play of the week from the wide world of wagering, Fremantle, big win in Aussie rules. But that being said, Essen didn't just they didn't show up. They lost by 50. The down under double dog parlay did not cash, but it was quite nice. And Dusty, as I texted to you, I'm really getting into the wide world of wagering, maybe a little too much, but no one will ever be able to take away that I, in all likelihood, was the first ever Cool Bet customer to successfully cash a UFC, PGA match play, futsal, and bandy parlay. That's exactly what happened. 10-1. The dream is alive. I will be ready with some heaters for Friday afternoon. But
I know
I'm looking.
You had that bandy sweat going Sunday morning, didn't you?
You know what? It's not often that you got to get up at 8 a.m. to catch a bandy game from Scandinavia, which your parlay rides on. But that was exactly the case for me. And the Formula One lost that one in the nose. Hell of an end on that. You know what's crazy? How many people are now into Formula One, having never watched it before, because they saw the documentary on Netflix during the pandemic?
Changes everything. The pandemic has changed quite a bit in this industry, Huss. I think that's safe to say. All right. Last question. Did you live bet the Flyers when they were down 3-0 to start the third period yesterday?
I unfortunately didn't. A couple of our listeners and viewers did. I give a shout out to Nick Kowalski. I know he got them at 15-1. Listen, that's the most savage thing. What is happening right now with the Buffalo Sabres is hard to put into words. And that one last night, folks, pretty much encapsulated the entire thing. I mean, they have a wide open net. The guy gets taken down, just misses going in, and next thing you know, it's right back the other way. But did you see how Philly celebrated that big win? They put Gostisbehere on waivers.
I saw that. You almost blew it against Buffalo. You're going on waivers, Shane Gostisbehere, who had a really good rookie season. He looked like he was going to be a stud, and just it is not gone.
A lot of people thought that contract at $4.5 million a year long term was going to be a steal for Philadelphia, and yet now they're looking to move off of him. Pretty stunning what's happened in Philadelphia. Of course, the biggest story has been around their goaltending, Carter Hart. Hey, they got 2 points last night. They really needed it. No style points for an OT comeback win over Buffalo, but they'll take them in the standings.
All right, let's get to our puck picks tonight here on a Tuesday night. And I got to hit one. I'm playing it as safe. Part of me wanted to say, you know what? Let's get some more value. Let's go Tampa Bay -1.5. But I'm going with Tampa over Columbus. The number is 222, -222 here. A couple of different things leading to this decision. One, I mean, it's Tampa Bay versus the Columbus Blue Jackets. But on top of that, which is what you want to look for in these situations, Columbus has lost 4 in a row, including 2 against the Detroit Red Wings. So they know what it feels like to be absolutely devastated by the Red Wings, just like us here in the Lock Shop. But Tampa Bay has also lost 2. And you're telling me Tampa Bay is going to lose 3 in a row with that third game being the Columbus Blue Jackets, who also beat them in their last meeting. Columbus beat Tampa 5-2 the last time these two teams met. So there are a number of different levels here, which Tampa will want this game. And when Tampa really, really wants a game, I think Tampa can get them against teams at the caliber of the Columbus Blue Jackets. So I'm on Tampa -222. I need a puck pick. I need a best bet to hit here. So I'm on Tampa Bay -222 for a couple of different reasons.
Tampa owes the Lock Shop after Saturday night blowing that lead against the Carolina Hurricanes, and I kind of like it. And I'm going to take the Bruins. I got on this last night when it opened at -192. Obviously, a lot of people thinking the same thing. Listen, New Jersey beat them 1-0 in their last meeting. Boston needs these points right now. And, I mean, Boston's a much better team than the New Jersey Devils top to bottom. So, this was in the same vein as you, just needing to get a W on these damn favorite picks. It's the most puzzling thing. Can't hit a favorite to save our lives, and yet come getting plus money underdogs, no problem. We'll bank one in. So anyways, I'm going to go with Boston. And you know what's funny? I'm just looking. Boston and Tampa together gives you a plus money parlay of +112. It's not quite the partner parlay, but there may be a sprinkle on that because, my God, we're due.
I love the fact that you brought that up because I was just going to say you might want to parlay these two, even though it's not an official parlay. I was just going to go there. So what was the number? You said it's a plus money parlay?
Yeah, +112 right now with the Bruins at -217, Tampa at -222. Put them together +112 for tonight.
I like it. This podcast is due to hit a parlay one way or the other. Maybe the best way to do it is to make it a non-official partner parlay. Yeah. And you're looking at plus money here with the Bruins and the Tampa Bay Lightning. You know what? When we look at the dog pound here, I was in a good spot with the Oilers as that dog on Saturday night. And then they completely pissed it away in the last 8 minutes, which was extremely frustrating for me, Huss.
You know what? That was, hey, I was with you. I mean, listen, I was more financially invested in your underdog pick than I was in the Predators, although it was nice that the Preds were on. I really like that spot for Edmonton. And I mean, listen, it was looking pretty good 50 minutes into the game. It was sort of stunning the way that thing turned around. But I'll tell you what, both that and the Jets' performance on Saturday night and the way things sort of fell apart for them in the third period really threw a couple bad goals on Laurent Brossoit. Kind of brought me back to the window last night, taking Edmonton and Winnipeg. It was the same picks from Saturday, just 2 days later. They both came in last night. So, and from a Jets fan perspective, I mean, of course, you got 2 games from between Edmonton and the Leafs, and they're both 3-point games. I mean, the worst possible situation if you're not invested in either of those. But I mean, basically, Dusty, I mean, we've got 3 teams now that are pretty much in. I'd say Montreal's pretty much in as well, because the Calgary Flames. Oh man, they are now in next year territory, and you know the whole conversation. I was talking with some guys in Calgary earlier today. The whole conversation about the Flames and potential changes for next season, I think, has been accelerated to right now. This team is not making the playoffs, and you know we've seen some pretty interesting pressers from both players and coaches so far since Daryl Sutter's back. So I'm fascinated to see whether this has sped up the process to maybe move on from one of the core pieces of the Calgary Flames at the deadline, as opposed to some significant changes in the offseason.
And obviously it wasn't the change that they were looking for, or the results they were looking for when they pulled the trigger on Sutter coming in. But who would have thought that 3 weeks after Sutter takes over, Huss, we're talking next year territory here for the Calgary Flames. But it's not a ridiculous conversation to have. And there might be some value here prior to the deadline on some of these guys that would not be where it will be at in the offseason. So we'll see how Tree Living approaches this. You have to remember, he's a guy who I'm not even too sure he gets the chance, depending on how this season ends, to pull the trigger on the big deal. You know what I mean? We've been talking about it for off seasons after off season. Johnny Gaudreau, New Jersey. Johnny Gaudreau, Philly. What happens with Johnny Gaudreau? I mean, it may get to a point where Tree Living doesn't even get to make that decision.
No, well, that absolutely could be the case. And that, and I guess if the organization is feeling that maybe he's not the guy to do it, maybe they kind of say, just cool your jets going into this deadline. We're going to recalibrate and reevaluate everything at the end. But what do? Put Sutter back in there and it's just Sutter's show for the next couple of years? I mean, hey, I'm here for it, but I'm not sure.
You could see that. Like, I could see them doing that, buddy. I didn't think they'd bring him back as coach. And right now, I don't think they do that as GM, but maybe they would.
Hey, it's not out of the realm of possibility. Getting him out of the barn in Viking was just the first step. Now that he's there, he's got more term. He's a lot more solid than the GM, and we all know the experience that he has. So, hey, in a pandemic world, trying to keep costs down, if they do have to show traveling the door, it wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility to have Daryl get back into both offices. And if that happens, I think you really see some things shaken up with that roster.
Oh, yeah, he wouldn't mess around. There's no doubt about that. All right, let's get into the dog pound here on a Tuesday night in the National Hockey League. And we're both going back to places we've been before. Huss, but what are you doing here?
Well, this is a complete repeat of Saturday night. I'm going to continue riding with the Nashville Predators. And, early on in the season, I think part of, the success I had in the dog pound early on was actually going against Nashville because, frankly, they weren't very good for a good portion of this season, but they really have turned it around. Now, I mean, say what you will about the competition that they've beaten. They did start off this string with a win over the Dallas Stars, but they've won 5 in a row. They've won 7 of their last 8, which includes wins over the Lightning and the Panthers and the Stars and 2 over the Chicago Blackhawks. This team is they sort of have barged their way back in. I mean, they're now in a playoff spot. They're tied with Chicago, and no one's catching Florida, Carolina, or Tampa Bay in that division. But really, this is going to come down to Dallas. If they can go on a big run with some of their makeup games, they'll be in the mix. Columbus, Chicago, and Nashville. Chicago's going the wrong way, and you touched on Columbus. What a disastrous weekend for that team, losing both to the Detroit Red Wings. So all this talk about Matthias Ekholm coming to Winnipeg or being on the move, that might be premature because the Preds have actually got themselves back in a situation where they could very well be a playoff team. And I just like them to keep rolling tonight. Huge game in that division. Dallas will certainly be up for this game tonight. They absolutely need this to get back to 500. But I think Nashville's just on a roll right now. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. We go back to the Preds at plus money for the Tuesday dog pound.
Yeah, and I'm going back to the Oilers. Just missed on Saturday night against the Toronto Maple Leafs. Had the 3-1 lead in the third and let it slip away. Bounced back. Didn't play as well, I thought, last night, but managed to come away with the victory as well. There's a couple of different factors here. Now, when I saw it last night, I think this number was more around plus 115-ish. It's at plus 108 today at Coolbet. So some money has been coming in here on the Edmonton Oilers, and a couple of different reasons. And one, just starting with the Oilers, this team under Dave Tippett has actually been surprisingly good in back-to-back situations. And they'll be going to Mikko Koskinen tonight. For Mikko Koskinen, since he's been settled into this backup role behind Mike Smith, he's actually looked way more comfortable. He's been playing, I think, better as a backup than he was earlier in the season when he had a heavier workload. So I don't mind them going to their backup tonight, which is good value on it here as well. Tippett is going to leave McDavid and Draisaitl together tonight when Draisaitl did nothing against the Leafs on Monday. I thought it was that kind of game where Tippett watches and goes, okay, back to your own lines now. Like there was pretty much nothing in regulation from Leon Draisaitl, but he decided to leave them together tonight against Montreal, and I think McDavid and Draisaitl could be in for a big one. On top of that, Montreal hasn't played a game in over a week, and Oilers will be at the end of a 3-4, which I know is not something that you usually want to dive in on, but I'm not too sure if this Montreal team is built to just come in and pick up where they've left off in the past. So we talked about it earlier in the season, Huss, when we saw some American teams having to deal with this and coming back in after not playing in a little while. And it wasn't the best news for these teams. So the Oilers, I think it'll be a relief for their big guns to get away from the Leafs. The Leafs do a good job shutting those guys down. They just clog up, they interfere, however they do it. I think it might be a little bit of relief for the big guys, which could lead to a good night offensively. So I'm going to go with the Oilers basically on this good value of plus 108.
Yeah, hey, and I know it wasn't we saw the OT winner last night with the brilliance from McDavid, but hey, I know you were cranking out the Josh Archibald goal song today, so that kind of tells you it wasn't all the top line guys going at it this morning, and it's tough to hold those guys off the scoreboard for for multiple games. And your point about the Habs is well taken. This team has a lot of hockey ahead of them. They have so many games to make up. They're going to be playing, multiple games, extra right up until the end of the regular season, probably have a couple after the end of the regular season. But you don't really know what to expect from a team that's had over a week off, that's been dealing with this, the health of the players, the readiness to get going. And at the end of the day, the Edmonton Oilers on most nights have, they've got the best players on the ice. So, pretty hard not to look at the Oilers, despite how much hockey they've played lately, as a team that could go in and keep this thing rolling.
And that's the other thing. They are on 3-4, but it is after a week off too, right? It's not like they'd been playing game after game after game, then all of a sudden had to go 3-4. It's a pretty unique 3-4 situation for them. So I think that might make it a little bit different as well. If you're watching on the live stream right now, if you want to chime in, this is your boy, as we call them, Hustlerites, Gitch, right? Is it your boy Gitch?
Oh, the Gitch, the parlay prince of Steinbach, Manitoba. Yes.
He's on Boston, New Jersey under tonight, he says. So there you go.
It was 1-0 the last time they played. I mean, the one thing Jersey has been doing has been getting some good goaltending, and Boston has not been, they haven't been exploding offensively. I still think they can get it done, but what is it, 5.5 or is it 6?
Let me see. I got it up right here. What do we got
here? Yeah, 5.5 under minus 143. Oh wow, plus money over plus 120. That just tells you how low scoring these two teams have been over the last little while. I'll take
that's the most value on it over in the whole league tonight, actually.
Yeah, I'll take the cop out though. We need the win. I'm just taking Boston on the money line.
All right, let's get to the Valero Texas Open. Huss, we just got a couple of picks, and then a little bit of a longer shot here as well. First of all, how was match play for you, buddy? How'd that go down?
You know what? Match play, it was, to be honest, there was Friday was a heartbreaking day. We finished the lock shop. I settled in to watch my guys in the afternoon. Cam Smith had a close call. He could have been in a playoff to move on. But the biggest disappointment is a guy that I'm picking this week, my guy, Abraham Answer. He looked so good in those first two rounds. All he had to do was win or tie his match to move on. He ended up losing a tight one and then losing a playoff as well. And you know what? In the 16 pods of 4, the round robin, there was 8 or 9 playoffs this year. It had never happened before, and it was brilliant. But man, it was a graveyard if you were, looking at anybody in the top. Of the top 16 players, the seeds, top seed in each one, only John Rahm made it through. So that was a little unfortunate. I want to give a special thanks to the Kevin Kisner. He was money in those first 2 rounds. He is Mr. Match Play, the defending champ. He was awesome. So he won me some cash, and Matt Kuchar as well, all the way to and including that third place matchup. Kuch, in fact, was the winning golfer on the golf UFC futsal bandy parlay. So Kuch always has a special point. But I'm going back to Abe Answer. I really do think that in this field, oh, by the way, we should mention these numbers have all come down a little bit because the pre-tournament favorite Dustin Johnson, who is plus 750, has withdrawn, which left Spieth at the top of the leaderboard, Tony Finau right behind it. So I'm looking on this leaderboard at basically 2 of the chalkier plays. Abe Answer at 22. I mean, I think Abe is going to win at some point soon, and I really did like his game before what happened on Friday. Would have been nice to see what he could have done on the weekend. And Tony Finau is getting ready for Augusta. This would be a Tony win in that he's got the one win earlier, the Punta Cana, which of course Joel Damon won last week. And by the way, one of the great guys in golf. You could tell how happy everybody was with Damon to win that. That's what sports is all about. A guy with a journey like that, finally getting a big win. Tony needs another one. Now, even if he wins this, he probably won't get the respect of a regular full field PGA Tour event because so many guys are taking it off before the Masters. It doesn't matter, though. A win's a win. I think Tony will have a great shot to do it at 15-1. Answers the other guy that it's kind of at the top of the card. And then, the bomb, and there's a lot of opportunity here, in this event just because of the lack of some of the other top players in the world to, a guy that might have an opportunity to win. And I'm going to go with our boy EVR, Eric Van Rooyen from South Africa. EVR was awesome on the weekend. He ended up losing. He made it through his pod, lost to John Rahm, one of the best in the world. And I think that some of the confidence he had from the match play, getting ready for a big tournament this week, just that number 79-1, considering the way he played and what he brings to the table, popped out to me. So he got a sprinkle too. EVR is the long shot, but I'm in on Tony Finau and Abe Answer big for the Valero Texas Open. That's the whole card, those three guys.
I'm going to give you a little Canadian content in Corey Connors. He's obviously had success here before. He's been locked in this season as well. It seems like Corey Connors is finding himself in the mix quite a bit. He's got 5 top 10s, 9 top 25 so far. You mentioned the field. I mean, there's a reason here he's 24-1. He's plus 2,400. He's one of the top 6 or 7 favorites in this event. So with how close he has been, some of the experience he does have at this event, I like that number at plus 2,400. Charlie Hoffman, what do we call him? Mr. Valero Texas Open? The all-time winnings leader at the Valero Texas Open, 10 for 10 at TPC San Antonio. Won it in 2016, 2 seconds, a third, 8 top 15s, plus 3,200. I think you got to mix in a little Charlie Hoffman. And then my long shot will be Brandon Grace. He does have 2 top 10s at this course, but it was about 3 years ago. Also has a win already this year at the Puerto Rico Open, I think, about a month ago. So, he's already shown the ability this year to finish the job off. I think if you can have a guy who's had moderate success at this place in the past, has already got a win this year, and you got him at plus 6,400, that compared to some of the other guys you're going to see in that same range that maybe haven't accomplished what he's accomplished both recently and at this course in the past, I think that's a decent long shot there. So I'm on Connors, Hoffman, and Brandon Grace.
I like that. Grace is a great story, as you mentioned. And by the way, I think I screwed up. You mentioned the Puerto Rico Open. That was the tournament that Tony Finau won. But again, that's another one of those events that runs opposite one of the big WGC events, so it's not quite full field. Regardless, though, hey, he does have a win this year. I mean, he's got a pretty great pedigree, and he seems to be trending in an upward fashion. And this is the sort of field that a player like that can win. I mean, you don't have DJ and Morikawa and Rory and, all the top players in the world. So I think it's a little bit more wide open. Corey Connors, for sure, he should be in that mix as one of the more favored golfers. And what can you say about the Hoff? He is a guy that when he gets hot and when his irons are going on, he can literally beat anybody. And he has done that before at this course. He will be, I have a feeling after hearing what you said about Charlie Hoffman, his DraftKings ownership this week is going to be like 85% for the big contest. Everyone's going to want a piece of the Hoff, but you can get your own piece of the Hoff at 32-1 at CoolBet Canada.
You mentioned opening day just around the corner, which gives us a little bit more to talk about here on the Lock Shop moving forward, mixing in a little bit of futures from the Diamond and, weekly bets too. We'll definitely get into that as we work our way through the Lock Shop here over the next couple of months. But Huss, let's take a look now. A couple of real chalky favorites here with the Dodgers and Yankees. And I mean, that might be where the smartest money is, but I do think there's some good value on a few other teams, including the one that you're going with. I really like where they are at this year. So give me your pick, and then I'll sprinkle in a little bit more here from the NL.
I'd love to tell you that it's worthwhile putting a little sprinkle on my Kansas City Royals at 130-1, but we won it in 2015, so I think we've got another good 25 or 30 years of 100 lost seasons before they get back into it. However, one of my favorites, my former Royal Eric Hosmer is now with the Padres. And this is a team that slowly, piece by piece, really ever since the Hosmer signing, has been building into a contender. And then they went big this summer. You got a lineup that has Fernando Tatis Jr., Manny Machado, Eric Hosmer, Tommy Pham, Will Myers, and Jake Cronenworth, who's another guy that not quite a household name, but a very effective player. But then when you look at this rotation, Darvish hasn't had a great spring, but I think everyone expects him to be the guy that was the runner-up for the NL Cy Young last year. You got Joe Musgrove, and, to me, the guy that's the biggest difference maker in addition is former Rays starter Blake Snell. And if you don't think that this guy going to a new team in a new league isn't going to have a bit of a chip on his shoulder to prove everybody that his manager was a complete idiot for taking him out of the playoff game last year with their season on the line, having gone through the order twice, having given up one hit in that game. Listen, this guy is a baller. He is in a position where he'll have a legitimate chance to win. They're spending the money to do it right now. And I know the Dodgers are a really short number at like plus 340. The Dodgers are always good. Yeah, they did it last year. Let's see if they can come back again. I'll take Slam Diego at 3 times the odds of the Dodgers with what they're bringing to the table. And I'll be honest, this is a little bit of a homer pick. I'm not saying that they're going to do it, but I don't even mind a little sprinkle on the Blue Jays at 30-1, considering what they've done so far in the spring. Still, a lot of things are going to have to go right on the pitching side of things, both in the starting rotation and the bullpen, but it's a very exciting team. And, it's fun to be able to talk about the Blue Jays as a team that, can be in the mix in the AL, because it's been a few years since we've been able to do that. And there's been a lot of patience, a lot of waiting for a lot of people. The time is now for the Blue Jays to barge into the conversation in the American
a lot
League.
of people projecting them to be a playoff team, see them in a lot of top 10s and preseason power rankings. And this is still with a very young core. I know they brought in Springer, obviously, and the rotation and the whole pitching staff in general. We'll see how it plays out. But with the excitement level around the Biggios and the Bichettes and Vladdy and some of the other studs that they've got there that are still just kind of getting into that prime, man, this could be the beginning of something really special if they can get the pitching that is required for the Toronto Blue Jays. I'm not specifically speaking this year, but before you know it, we might be hosting parties out in Gibbons again, just north of Edmonton here, where I drop Lieutenant Eric off on the side of the road and somebody would pick him up and win a prize and drop him off at the bar in Gibbons when we were watching Encarnacion and Bautista do their thing. So I hope there are some special times ahead for the Blue Jays. So a little sprinkle. What'd you say, 30-1? Is that what they're at right now?
30-1 right now. A cool bet. Yeah. Hey, and by the way, speaking of Encarnacion, are you going to bless us with the chin strap by the end of this month or whatever? It's like being the Movember spokesperson and not growing a stash. What's going on here, Dusty?
I think what you'll see tomorrow morning on the final day of church, both myself and possibly Lieutenant Eric will be having chin straps for the show tomorrow morning.
I pray that tomorrow is TSN 1260 picture day. That we need those. We need. Oh, by the way, guys, pop in for your headshot, and then they can use that for the next 10 years.
That would suck. No, it wouldn't, because we're ending the stigma. That's right. All right. My World Series pick, Huss, outside of the big two that we talked about, and is it really worth it with the number that you're getting at the Yankees and the Dodgers? I think the Atlanta Braves, just a little bit behind the Padres in the overall picture of things right now. They're plus 1050. They've got the reigning NL MVP in Freddie Freeman, not to mention Acuna Jr. and Ozuna. Offensively, the Braves should not have a problem generating runs. And I think they've got a rotation that will be more than strong enough to put them in that 90 to 95, maybe even high 90 win range. And we're not even talking about Mike Soroka being back yet to start the season, obviously coming off what I believe was a Achilles injury, wasn't it? So when he returns, that rotation could already be in a really good spot. So I think the Braves at plus 1050, what are they, 4th or 5th overall, I think, in the ratings. I like the Padres a little bit better, which I guess makes sense with the value that it's at right now. But when I saw the Braves, I didn't even bother looking any further down the list. I think that's a good number for Atlanta.
I'll tell you what, lineup for lineup, in the field and at the plate, I think those two teams are really, really comparable. You want to talk about Ronald Ozuna, Freddie Freeman, Marcell Ozuna, Ronald Acuna, and even d'Arnaud at catcher. They have some guys that will be able to hit. and they've had wonderful pitching last year. And speaking of Soroka, sounds like he's going to make his first spring appearance today. So, well, he won't be able to go for week 1. His return is just around the corner. And tell you what, I think Alex Anthopoulos has built a pretty darn good ball club there. And I'll tell you what, Mark, I would love to put down right now on a Braves-Padres NLCS, essentially fading the Dodgers right now in it, because I think both of these teams are going to be legitimate contenders and will be right there with LA once we get to the postseason.
Yeah, because if it's not the Dodgers, it's these two teams, right? Like that's an interesting play. We'll have to see if we can get something like that set up. But give us some NLC championship odds right now on the matchup. Chris Abbott, cool bet. If you're listening or watching, let's make that happen. It might already. There's so many futures there. I haven't even dug through all of them. I'm going through right now and just sprinkling all of the Vladdy Guerrero props just to see if it all pays off. So,
well, you know what? It's a perfect time to let people know that if you haven't yet but want to check out coolbet.com and maybe, put a little cash on the Jays to win the World Series or one of your favorite teams, go to coolbet.com, pump in that promo code LOCKSHOP, all one word, and you'll get 100% a deposit bonus up to $200 on your first deposit. And you can have a nice little season-long wager to take you through 162 with the Jays.
Huss, before we wrap up, for those watching live right now on my Twitter account, you'll be live on YouTube right away with Winnipeg Sports Talk. What do you got coming up today?
Well, today, a packed show. Jeff Hamilton from the Winnipeg Free Press is going to join us at 1:15 or thereabouts. We'll recap this 3-game series with the Calgary Flames, stick a fork in Calgary, and move on to getting ready for the Toronto Maple Leafs tomorrow. We'll also get Jeff's take on what we're hearing from around the Canadian Football League, the upcoming season. Jeff does a great job as one of the real insiders of the game. And then, following our conversation on the upcoming baseball season, Keegan Matheson's going to come by to set up the Blue Jays year beginning on Thursday with opening day. So, some hockey, some football, some baseball, and a lot of reaction from last night's game. And then Winnipeg Jet fans get ready to welcome the Maple Leafs to town for the first time tomorrow night. Lots to keep us busy right now, Dusty, that's for sure.
Never a quiet night in the North Division in the National Hockey League, and never a quiet episode here on the Lock Shop either. Winnipeg Sports Talk, the Nielsen Show on TSN 1260. We got you covered on a number of different platforms. Huss, best of luck tonight, buddy. Have a good show this afternoon, and we'll catch up on Friday, man.
Right back at you, pal. Thanks so much, and thanks to everyone for popping in. And if you are watching live, join us on YouTube at Winnipeg Sports Talk, and hit us with the sub, and we'll see you in a little bit.